Hola chicos, hoy vamos a hablar de la hora, right? Telling time in Spanish. And the key word that we hear for this over and over again in Spanish is la hora, which means time, la hora, ¿verdad? So how do we tell time in Spanish? Pues primero, la primera pregunta, the most common question that we ask when we talk about time, especially here in the United States where everybody seems to be obsessed with time, is ¿qué hora es? Right? You want to know what time it is? You ask the question, ¿qué hora es? ¿Verdad? And there's your way to say, what time is it? So, ¿cómo podemos, I should put an accent in here. ¿Cómo podemos contestar estas preguntas? How can we answer these questions? Well, really there's two ways to answer the questions. We can say, ¿es la o son las? Plus a number. So, es, the only time you'd use es is when you'd use something associated with 1 o'clock. So, you would say, es, por ejemplo, la una. It's 1 o'clock. With son, we're going to use that with any number higher than 1. So what are numbers higher than 1? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 being the last number. So por ejemplo, son las 3, son las 4, son las 5, son las 8. ¿Verdad? Y estas son las maneras de hablar de la hora. These are the ways to talk about time. Now, nosotros sabemos, we all know that when we talk about time, we're not just talking about a time that's on the dot. In other words, we're going to have to talk about times that are a little bit more complicated. So here we have a clock, right? We have a old-fashioned clock here, and we have a digital clock here. So if we wanted to just say approximately what time it is, 10:30. We wanted to say to somebody it was 10:30. We would use the word media. So here, instead of just saying, for example, it's 10 o'clock by saying son las 10, we would have to add son las 10:30. Media is our word for 30, or half in Spanish is what it means. Okay? So aquí nosotros vamos a tener una aproximación, kind of an approximate time of what time it is. So media. Now, what if this were closer to 10:45? Here, we wanted to say, it's closer to 10:45 than it is 10:30, so we're going to approximate and we're going to say it's 10:45. So here's where things get a little bit tricky. So now, instead of saying son las 10:30, because we're past the half hour, we're going to say son las 11 menos cuarto. And by saying that, we are saying it's 10:45. So here's our sort of second vocabulary word that's important, cuarto, which means quarter or 15. So we have media y cuarto. Now, notice what we did here. Instead of saying it's 10:45 or quarter of 11, what we literally said was it is 11 minus a quarter, or minus 15 for 10:45. Anytime you get past, generally in Spanish, anytime you get past the 30, the media, you'll count backwards and you'll say menos. That's not to say that, for example, if we wanted to talk about a specific time here, we go back to our clock, and right now it's 10:30, well, it's going to be 10:40 in a second. If I wanted to say specifically 10:40, and I wanted to be really precise about that, I could do that by simply saying son las 10:40. So here we have to actually put an exact number down. We have to remember our numbers, which for many of us can be a little bit tricky. So notice the E, right? The E, okay? To link these together. Here we have menos to make it minus. So that's going to be a key aspect of this. Now, when we look at this son las over here, if we look at this expression, son las 10:40, we could also say here, what's another way we could say this? Using this menos. And if you said son las 11 menos 20, you're correct. Okay? So vamos a practicar un poquito. Let's just do a little practice. So if we go to this blank page and I put some times down and I say, oh, I don't know, 3:16, if I say 4:48, And let's do 109. So practicing with these ones, right? We want to say it is. So here we have plural, right? So we're going to use son. This is a number above 1. The next thing we put is las, because again, plural, las tres. What's next? We want to be precise. We want to be precise. Son las 3:10:6. Right? Nobody ever writes the numbers down. I think that actually might be, don't quote me, but this actually, I think this is how it's set up. But we never write it down. I'm not concerned with that. Son las 3:16. Now, if we wanted to be a little bit more, if we wanted to approximate a little bit more, we could certainly say son las 3:15. It's 3:15, and that's what most people do. It's approximate. All right, how about this one? 4:48. Look at this 48. We're closer to the 5 than we are the 4. So we're going to go backwards, and we're going to say, what do you think? Son las 5. What's the next word we're going to use? Minus. Menos. We want to be really exact here. 12. A lot of people would say menos 10, just to approximate, right? Bien, 109. This one's a little bit different because we're having 1 here. We have the 1. So this 1 is singular. So instead of the son, we use s. It doesn't matter that it's 109. Anytime we have any kind of 1, it's going to be s. And we say es la instead of es las. Una. What else? Y 9. Okay? So using those few things, you can tell any time in Spanish. Son las or es la plus the numbers or minus the numbers. Bueno, en la próxima clase vamos a practicar. So be prepared to practice with this for next class. Muchas gracias por su atención y nos vemos en clase. Chao.